This is like life-changing. You should try it.
You guys want to grab some clams and we can talk about clams?
Yeah. Grab it since you already know
Where are they?
on a buoy line there. You just grab that line and
Let Jevon eat the raw clam. I don't want to eat a raw clam.
If we're busy and we have a really good day at the restaurant, we'll sell 800 to 1,000 of these oysters in one day.
Oh my God.
So Brooke knows. So Brooke will like any shell rings, and I'm like, yeah, there's some in, but I'd come in for lunch because they might not be here by dinner.
Chewing gum?
No, I'm cleansing my palate. I'm cleansing my palate.
Clams like to grow in the mud, and they're below the surface. And then oysters like to grow out of the mud, usually on top of rocks or on top of other oyster shells.
Isn't that nice?
It's the best clam I've ever had.
You're gonna do a couple of laps to get all the sand out of it.
Everybody's like, oh, when do you go out? Do you go out early in the morning? I'm like, sometimes with low tides at 5 a.m. or sometimes I go out at sunset. So it's whatever the tide is, or very tide dependent. Planted like almost 500,000 plants a couple of years ago, and we have a stingray here called a cow-nose ray, and they just go around looking for clams, and they actually chew through the bag and pretty much bite down the whole front.
Yeah, they can eat them they crush them up like chiclets.
So they actually...
Doug thought that I was the biggest hindrance to the clam profits because I eat them a lot.
Every time I bring them in, he'd say, oh.
So Doug is out here every single day trying to keep up with sorting them by size, tumbling them, making sure that the bags don't fill up because the oysters are growing too fast. So
an oyster, we'll probably sort an oyster at least 10, shouldn't say at least, maybe 10 times before it actually makes it to the plate. A clam will probably only a max sort it 3 times. The main reason we tumble oysters is one, to break off some of this new shell. And when you break off the new shell, the oyster, like this one's kind of flat. So every time we break off this new growth, the oyster will repair itself and it'll get a deeper cut, and then you get more meat in the shell, which we're going for. But the cool thing is that these are all the same age oysters, and when we planted them, they're probably about this big when we planted them, and they've grown this much in 4 months. But they're all the same age. But these big ones take food away from the little ones. So the little ones, we like to put them all together around the same size, so they're all kind of fighting for the food at the same rate. But when these big ones a couple of big ones are around the little ones won't get as much food and they won't grow as fast. So the more we separate them, the faster they'll grow and the more uniform they'll grow. So we try to tumble them like every 5 weeks or so. The more we handle it, the better the oyster gets. It gets a deeper cup and a better meat quality. So that's what we're working on, is trying to get the best shaped oyster and the best meat quality. But yeah, you can eat oysters and clams here year round as long as it's from the right place. If it's grown in the right way and certified by DNR. And usually we do this tumble process, put them back in the water for 2 weeks. They kind of regrow their shell, so they get a nice seal, so all the oyster juice stays in the shell, and then that will be ready for market. So it even though it came out at the end and it's market ready, it's not going to go into the restaurant. The way we're actually growing them in these cages, it's very labor intensive. Baby oysters swim around and they float in the water column, and then when they're ready to like attach to something, so they're actually like little fish for a little while, for about 2 weeks, and they actually swim around looking for a place where they're going to like live. Because oysters, once they grow a shell, they live there forever. They want to attach to a rock or another oyster or a stick or cement, so they'll just travel around trying to find their best spot. And we have a really good spot because we have very clean oysters, and they like to stick to a clean oyster shell. Let them grow, use a clam break to break them up, but the main reason we use the bag is to hopefully stop the predator. But cow-nose rays they actually like grind through the bag, make a hole, and then they, like a vacuum cleaner, will suck all the clams out. and crush them up, suck all the meat out, and go to the next bag. And within like 2 weeks, they wiped out almost 400,000 clams. Problems. So this stops a lot of the petrol problem. It stops like redfish and a lot of the blue crab. The blue crabs really can't get through the bag, but the cow-nose rays.
The rays were actually getting it in the bag.
They grab the bag and they like grab it and they put it in their mouth and they like twist.
They actually have like sandpaper, and they'll actually like just grind through the bag, and you can see it. It's not like they just rip it open; they grind through it. So the bag is like, it looks like somebody took a piece of sandpaper and just wore through it. And then once they get a hole, they just put their face in there, and like that, they actually can like suck it in like a vacuum cleaner, and they suck all the clams in, crush them up. Like just take the meat out and spit all the shell out. I have a bucket of the shell. It's like, and it's hard shell. It's not like little babies and stuff. They were ready to harvest, and they just decimated it. Clams grow great here, but there's just a lot of predators. So we're hoping that the nets and moving the area to up the river a little bit will be a little beneficial. We'll have like 1,000 clams in it. This probably only has a couple hundred.
You notice I'm coming over closer because I want to eat a clam.
So this was like a light bag. There wasn't that many clams in it, but usually I could probably fill the ones that are too small that we don't even want to use for pasta. We'll put back in a bag and we'll put them down for another couple months, and then they're sort of the same thing as the oysters. Get them away from the big ones. They'll start growing faster, and then we'll be able to harvest them in a couple of months.
Like, are these ready to harvest right now? These
Yeah.
are full grown, ready to eat.
Well, yeah, probably 75% of them are.
So are you going to eat
Yeah.
one, Andrew? Are you going to eat a raw clam
Dog
for
will
us?
open it for me.
Isn't that pretty?
Throw it to the bag. Grew like a perfect oyster.
Damn, maybe we're doing it the wrong way. All right, who's eating? Are we rock, paper, scissors, or should I eat the thing?
Don't we have like a ton of them?
Yes, we have tons of them.
Mmm. It's so salty. So salty. Yum. That's delicious.
This is like life-changing. You should try it.
Man.
Let me get you.
Is it attached or
No.
okay?
Is this your first raw clam?
No, I had them at the seafood festival last year and they're delicious.
Oh.
Well, this is gonna change your life right here. When they come right out of the water like that, they're so sweet.
And salty.
There's no bitterness to them whatsoever.
Delicious.
You have to try one.
Really?
You'll really like it.
I'll do it too, if there's an extra.
Oh, there's plenty.
Like,
My first raw clam.
So what's the deal with shucking a clam versus shucking an oyster?
show them how you do it. Show them your technique, Doug.
Maggie, get him shucking the clam. It's different than the oyster.
Squeezed the knife into that lip that I was just showing you. Come across, there's a muscle here and there's a muscle there. You twist a little bit, cut that first muscle. You go over the meat, cut the other muscle. Now the top part of the shell is released, and then again it's attached on the bottom of the shell. Same thing, two muscles. And now it's free from the shell, and then that's it. Biggest reason people don't eat clusters and stuff in the summertime is because they sit out on the banks. Like you can see them on the shoreline there. They always just sit out in the sun. So it's like leaving a gallon of milk on your picnic table in the summer. If you left it there for a couple of hours, you wouldn't want to drink that milk. So oysters sit out in the sun in the summer, and the bacteria levels go up, and that's how people get sick. But if you took that same oyster and you moved it into the water just 2 feet under the surface, it would constantly be pumping. And when the oyster pumps, it gets rid of all the bad stuff. But since our oysters are always under the water, they're constantly pumping so that the bacteria levels never go higher, and we're certified by DNR to be able to harvest year round.
They also don't reproduce in the summer. These oysters don't reproduce. The wild oysters are constantly, their metabolism speeds way up in the summer, so they get real thin and watery. Like our oysters, they don't reproduce. They're what's called triploids. So they are constantly growing through the summer. I mean, obviously when it gets to be like 82 degree water temperatures, they'll slow way down.
Yeah, they'll be a little bit thinner in summer, but since they're under the water all the time, they're feeding constantly. Whereas an oyster on the bank could be sitting out of the water for like 4 or 5 hours. So they're going to thin out. They also spawn. When the oyster spawns, the meat gets really thin. Our oysters aren't doing that, and they're constantly growing, constantly getting their meat quality up. Once we get floating gear, we're probably going to be able to supply Hudson's every day, year round. Right now, we probably have 500,000 oysters out here, probably have about 500,000 clams in the water. We kind of have clams down where Hudson should never run out of our clams.
And how do you keep track of what bags are where and how old the bags are? Do you have an Excel spreadsheet? Like, that just seems like an organizational nightmare. How do you manage it?
Well, right now, it's mostly in my head. Eventually, I think the technology will be there, but right now, there's really no technology that will. What's in my head, I can't get it into like a program or anything right now. But there's a guy working on a program that's pretty close, but it's not quite where I need it to be yet. At least an hour or half hour every time I come out is just making sure that the bags aren't burying.
Well, making sure the water can flow underneath the cage as well as over top.
Because if the oysters, unlike clams, if oysters sit in the mud, they'll just die. They won't. They don't move. Clam can actually move. If I took one of these clams and stuck it down in the mud, it would actually move to where it wants to be.
The day I met Doug, I was in one of my I don't know, 3 or 4 crises that we've dealt with at the restaurant. So we had in 2016 we had Hurricane Matthew. In 2017 we had Hurricane Irma, or Tropical Storm Irma, or whatever that was. And we had, obviously Hudson's is how I feed my family. And so, I was kind of torn. I was like, well, I got to put the restaurant back together. I don't really need to be fooling around with the oyster farm. And
in fact, when I came down originally, I was like, I need a place to sell some fish until I start my own oyster farm. And Andrew's like, well, I sort of have an oyster farm. It's just not been working for a few years.
dealing with COVID-19 and furloughing 150 employees. And he showed up on the dock, and I was like on the phone with a banker or something, and got off the phone with the banker, and Doug said, hey, I've been in the oyster and clam business up north for 20 years. My business was selling direct to restaurants in Manhattan.
We sat down and met a few times, and we really hit it off. That's the biggest thing about having a business partner, somebody you can get along with very well.
He goes, I'm thinking about moving my family down here. Do you want a business partner?
Yeah. And after meeting and talking a few times, it was like, it's a no-brainer to try to fix something that was sort of broken and elevate it to the next level. That it was kind of an easy choice.
It doesn't hurt that Doug's a great guy and a family guy and a hard worker, and brings a lot of knowledge that I didn't have. So it was a pretty good fit. And I think what I'm most excited about is just kind of pushing it forward and seeing what the next several years brings, because I think there's a lot of upside potential for this little company that I just originally wanted to have enough oysters to serve at the restaurant, but I think we can do a lot more than that.